question. We still need to remind people every day that we are at the first phase. That means the street is not clean right now. We are just removing the big stuff, and then after that, the other phase is gonna come. You said by October 12th, we're gonna end with the first phase? Okay. And the second phase is gonna start after that. What will be the second phase?
Through the manager, the second phase will be the construction debris, the couches, the dresses, whatever else is out there on the street that people have put out.
Okay. When will we remove all the debris at Cagney? Do we anticipate when?
Generally, 15, in this case, it'll be about 15 days after the conclusion of everything we collect.
The first phase?
Well,
Are you a part of the second and the
so,
third
so
phase?
in addition to the construction and demolition debris that will be collected in the second phase, you'll find that many residents will put more out from their backyards or
Yeah,
stuff
because
they
you're
couldn't
telling
get to. So we generally do subsequent passes, and we call it a three-stage collection process, where we'll actually go down the street twice with the large machinery. The third pass is generally light equipment, and we'll go by, and if there's even more vegetative debris out, we'll collect that. And then 15 days later, all of that material will be ground and hauled out, as a rule of thumb.
That's when you have, what is the total plan? How many days? for
We
anticipate
anticipate
that?
with the added 15 days, we anticipate them gone by November 15th, November 16th.
Okay.
Can I ask a
Go
quick
ahead,
question, Mr. Mayor? Councilman Benamy just mentioned something regarding the plan. We just find out about the plan. Are you gonna advertise and do a PSA, let the public know?
Absolutely.
Because I just find out
No,
tonight.
we apologize. Remember, we've been, this has kind of been like a working process and flexible. We knew we would probably have some questions tonight, so we got this together today to present to you guys. And I apologize for the late. It wasn't like we planned this from before.
Okay,
This is
so-
something we've been working on.
So you're planning to bring it out to the
We were gonna
public
put something out to the
to
public.
better educate
yes.
the people?
But I
and-
wanted to make sure you all got it firsthand. There's one more item that the deputy needs to update you on, which is a issue about the falling trees from the right-of-way to the properties that we need to talk about.
So, through the manager, and I did place one on, it was in an envelope, you all have it.
I thought it was a check until I opened it.
There's several, well, not several, to date as of yesterday, we have approximately 50 homes that have trees from the right-of-way that are laying onto their property. Approximately 50 homes, code enforcement went out
City
and we did.
trees, city trees.
City trees, yes, swale trees, yes. That are laying on private property. Code enforcement went out and did evaluation. We took pictures of of these 50 houses, but we did evaluate the whole city. Tomorrow, a door hanger will be placed on everyone's home. It's in English,
You're gonna
Spanish, and
start,
tomorrow.
you're gonna start putting,
It's only 50 homes. We'll finish all tomorrow.
those 50 only,
Yes.
okay.
It'll be placed on everyone's home, explaining to them that we will assist them with removing the tree off of their property. This
Instead
will-
of just placing it, I would recommend at least knock on the door
Yes.
if someone is there, so you can have a face to face. It'll be much
Yes,
better.
sir. No problem.
You have all those
And let them know that
officers
we will be helping them with their tree if they do need the help. And this will be a combination of city staff up until the property line. Anything after the property line, we will have a contractor take care of it. There will be actually a waiver for individuals to sign to say that we can remove, and they are authorizing us to remove it. We are, in this flyer that we have, does specify for them that we're not saying we're gonna fix their homes for them. They still should go through their insurance company for fixing their homes, but we will be helping them with the tree removal, should they wish.
Councilman Benamy just mentioned something. Can you assure that the constituent aid
Can do that,
goes
but
out
this
with them?
message.
at
That's
least
even
to help
better. I
out
didn't
with
even-
the, no, yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's even better. I didn't.
not
I
only
didn't
may
think
have
about
some
that.
language
That's
problem,
better,
but at
yes.
least they familiar with us, because people are scared of code enforcement,
Okay.
you know, so we gotta make sure.
Well, I would definitely, I'll get with the constituent service aides.
Yeah.
To
they
do
give
it.
them
That'll be
by
perfect.
Well,
district
they
and
don't,
can
sometimes they don't, they can be some of the rudest people. We've gotten a lot of complaints about our code enforcement folks.
I'll make sure I do work with the constituent.
Tame
service
them a
aides.
little bit,
Yes, sir.
yeah, before they go out there. A few comments that I have. First of all, is the price per square yard. How much are we paying? Are we paying more than anybody else?
No, not at all. Our price per cubic yard right now
Per cubic yard, not,
is,
that's good.
it's
Cubic.
it's $14.75 to, DRC.
That's the average,
No, that is it.
that is it.
That is it.
That's the real McCoy.
Yes.
FPNL,
How much is it?
$14.75
Okay.
yeah, per cubic.
per
yard.
cubic yard.
Okay, FPNL, at the beginning, we had about more than 23,000 households that was affected.
According to their report, and I think we've all talked about their report,
Yeah.
it was 24,400 residents out or affected by the storm.
Yes. What about now? Zero?
Well,
or
according,
everything? Huh?
again, as we've said, we've talked about their report. According to the report, I think I got one that said 0. But
The last report that I got was, there was like maybe about 400
right,
that
we
were left.
we had gotten down to 0 and it did go back up. I think you guys know, and I think I contacted all of you. Addis, our government liaison, got in touch with me, and there were still some
Yes,
addresses that had more detailed issues. So we have been sending her those addresses as we get them, and they've been kind of knocking out the rest of them in the city. As a matter of fact, I know you emailed and called her.
yeah, no, I text her, Mr. Mayor, as of today, we had, well, 2 streets, approximately 50 homes were affected, but it just went out, they did fix it, it went
Okay.
out this morning, and I think they should be back on as of now.
Okay, cool. The other point I want to make is prioritizing those damages. I mean, the repairs, I should say. I believe at the inception of the whole process, when we sat down, we talked and about FPL, where they would try, their best, to repair first. Of course, their first priority was hospitals, and I don't know, where supermarkets came down, and yeah. But we did get to a point where it was getting frustrating for a lot of institutions that were not getting power like 3, 4, 5 days, whereas other institutions that were considered less of a priority, they had their power 4 or 5 days before. I know this was a state of emergency for the entire state of Florida. I mean, this is by no means a small scale of catastrophe, but I think in the debriefing that we had, if we can, I don't know, talk to our FPNL rep in the future, if when they come for those repair processes and so forth, I think prioritizing they can do a much better job, because they were I even suffered. I didn't want to bring my business into it, but being a medical center, going 9 days without power, whereas you have beauty, well, not to say that the beauty salons are less important than the medical center, but I think I can do without a haircut for like 2 or 3 weeks, but not without my medications.
Right.
I can do without a manicure for 4, 5, 6 weeks. So we have to get that message to FPNL. And also, Vice Mayor mentioned the fact that you guys did a wonderful job, and I couldn't agree more. But in addition to that, I think you guys went overboard, and you went the extra miles. Because when I did receive that phone call from Claridge House, which is a nursing rehab facility, I went there and made an initial assessment. I said, oh my God, there's going to be a catastrophe here. They had no power whatsoever. The employees were sweating bullets. So I don't need to say what the patients look like. We're talking about 70, 75-year-old patients. So they asked me, what can be done. Immediately I called the manager. The manager came with the chief, Juriga. Is he here? Yeah, Chief Juriga, kudos to you, along with Pat Manelli. Can I call him Pat? Magne- and I must tell you, these guys came and they really represent North Miami, and their generators were down. Okay, their generators were down, and they said, Mayor, what can you do for us? Because we have elderly people here, and they couldn't get them out fast. As a matter of fact, they were getting new admissions. So suffice it to say that the chief of police, in tandem with I guess, Public Works,
Correct.
and we managed to bring some employees to go and help them repair their generators that same night. Guess what? They had power, they had AC. The next morning, I learned about what happened in Hollywood. We could have had the same thing that happened in Hollywood happen right then and there. So sometimes when you prevent things from happening, people don't get credit for the work that they do to prevent things. But it's when the bad things happen, that's when all the blame, come. So Chief, Officer Pat, is it McNally or McNally?
Right now.
I always have a problem pronouncing it. But he's always in hiding. He doesn't like to be praised. I don't know why. But I'll take the praise for you because I was there too. So anyway, I think, like I said, it's very hard, to understand because when you are the one with the actual problem, you feel like the whole world is caving on you. But this is the entire state of Florida. And 2 weeks prior, FPNL had to send troops to Texas.
Yes.
So a lot of the FPNL folks are in Texas now. So plus we have people coming in. It's a hard stuff to go through, and we are all going through it, holding hands, and just rest assured that it will be done. This is the United States of America. We have been through worse, and this has been a very bad storm. Let's keep our head up like the true Americans that we are so that we can get through this. Thank you very much.
Mayor, if you will allow me one indulgence, I do need to acknowledge Angelo Brinson, Cynthia Raymond, Athlete Edwards. Those are the 3 emergency management staff. Going back a year plus, I pushed real hard to make sure we had an emergency management staff and that we had an EOC and that we had contracts in place. And we went to all the nursing homes and did tests and make sure, but they did all of that work. But as far as the implementation is concerned, it took all 5 of you to give us the support to do it. It took literally every single employee, the public works staff, the park staff, city attorney's office. There's a lot of moving parts when these things happen. I can't say everybody's name, but I've already tried to thank all the staff because in my opinion, we did a hell of a job. So I just want to, again, publicly in front of the constituents and constituents too, calling and letting us know where they are, what they need. And we already did an after action, and I assure you, we will improve on the things that were lacking, and we will do better, even better next time. So thank you
very
to
much.
everybody.
All right. At this time, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Yeah. A motion to approve the consent agenda except tab B,
Second.
which was omitted.
Is it B and G?
Yeah.
B and G.
B and G.
Yeah, B and G is removed.
I'm sorry, Miss Ashton, you're gonna have to wait till Citizen Forum. Mr. Clerk?
Mayor, we have a motion made by Vice Mayor Galvin to approve the consent agenda with the exception of B and G, which was withdrawn from the agenda. That motion was seconded by Mayor Smith Joseph.
No, by Councilwoman.
I'm sorry. It was seconded by Councilwoman Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab H. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager to exercise the third option to renew a professional services agreement between the city of North Miami and Ellen Lawn and Landscape Services, Inc. for the provision of tree trimming services for a period of 1 year at a cost not to exceed $90,000 in accordance with Invitation for Bid Tree Trimming Services, IFB number 09-13-14, as amended, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Alberto Estrada, Purchasing Director, City of North Miami. The item that you have before you is staff's recommendation to approve the third of 4 options to renew for the city's tree trimming services with the company Elan Lawn and Landscape Services. This is a contract that was awarded back in 2014. It was a competitively bid contract. There were 11 bidders, and the company of Elan Lawn and Landscaping was the low bidder. As I mentioned, this is the third of 4 options to renew. It is an annual not-to-exceed amount of $90,000. And I should add that also staff is in discussions with this company to see if they can also assist us in the process of addressing some of the issues with the residents, as mentioned before by the deputy, with regards to the trees that have impacted by the storm on the residents' property. So we are also in discussions with them, and they have expressed a willingness to assist us in this matter. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain them.
Thank you very much. At this point of time, we'll ask the public to please come forward if you have any questions or any concern about this item. Please come forward. This is the time for you to be heard.
Yes, William Previtel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm in support of this item, but I wanted to use the opportunity to point out that with this passing of this last storm, we've had quite a tree trimming. Anything that was strong and standing out is really gone, including some of the biggest and best trees that we've had in the city. I was just hoping to point out that with this contract and starting that it's sort of feather in with the repair efforts. There may not be actual pruning at this point left, but it may somehow utilize their time to pick up the other items in the houses and stuff, as you mentioned. However, I'd like to mention something that hasn't been brought up, whether a tree pruning service could do it or not. There's a great deal of sand and soil that has washed into the streets, particularly in Long Bay Shore, I'm sure elsewhere throughout the city. I mean, I was out there today shoveling off of North Bay Shore, still, weeks later, 8-inch high piles. This sand and soil is going into our drainage systems and will then, because will become a greater damage to our infrastructure down the line if we don't try to address it soon. Whether this agency can help, at least at this time, short time, it means having shovels and such, but this is not sweeping dirt. This is serious shoveling. Growing up, I shoveled snow. I didn't think I'd be shoveling dirt off the street, and yet that's what we've been doing multiple days in our area. So that's just something to consider, and I hope there's a plan for removing dirt throughout the city from the gutterways to prevent further damage. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open.
Good evening, Mayor Council. Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. There's so many of the trees that were recently planted in the last few years have fallen down, and we could save a lot of money and debris if they were stood back up. Then there wouldn't be debris, and we could save, like everything that was planted in the last 5 years is laying down, but it's got a bigger root system than it had when it was in a pot when it was planted. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open on the item. We're doing item H, right? And about this pruning contract that is being presented to us. I see no one coming to the mic, so public hearing is now closed. Members of the council, do we have any comments or questions?
I have a question.
Councilwoman?
On this, I don't see a schedule. The most recent contract we just renewed had a schedule of the locations. Is this just all over the city? It's just as needed?
Right. This is, Councilwoman, this is a citywide contract. So whatever right-of-ways are impacted or whatever right-of-ways need to work, this is what this contract is intended to do. In other words, it's not for any specific areas. It's not for any specific districts. It is a citywide contract.
So can we be using these services now to try to restore some of our trees that are down, replant them?
No.
Well, again,
That tree trimming,
Uh, their contract has, certain specific language, certain scope of work. We are in discussions with the vendor, and he's willing to assist us because of the impact that's been caused by the storm. So I think he's willing to listen to us and help us to the extent that he can, to the extent that is within his resources.
If,
I noticed a lot, I've noticed that a lot of the trees we recently, the little trees we've planted, almost all of those are still standing. I just like to make sure we could, use their services to restore,
If you-
keep as much.
If you will, through the mayor.
Go ahead.
We've actually had that discussion internally, and we can look at this vendor, but we're looking at a couple other vendors that may help us. Of particular concern, obviously, was Enchanted Forest as one of the areas, because that is a forest. We wanted to save as many trees as possible, so the comments from the public are well taken. We'll report back, but we are looking at an effort to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a question. How many, that's been the contract, you don't have a map,
No, we don't, Councilman.
The citywide.
okay? It's gonna be like, you need to cut trees, you call them and they invoice you, eh? Not to exceed 90,000, or they are,
Councilman, through the manager. The right-of-way crews that we do have, as they are passing the trees in the right-of-way.
I'm
that-
talking about the contract, I know.
That's what I'm talking about, the
Oh, okay,
contract.
okay.
They do make notes of the trees that are overgrown,
Mm-hmm.
that need cutting back, and then they will forward those trees and those addresses to the vendor for them to go and cut those trees back. So it's done as on a needed basis, as we come across the trees that need, if a resident calls, oh, my tree needs to be cut back, then we do forward that to the vendor. So it's done on an as-need basis. There's no specific map that they will go to trim the trees. It's done on an as-need
Yeah, but do
basis.
they invoice you each time they go
Yes.
out?
They'll
Or?
invoice us as they do cut the trees, and
Okay.
then we'll pay that way.
But I don't think that was the plan. I thought they have a contract to trim the city, and they have a map, they have a schedule,
So,
and
if you
they
remember,
go every 3 months or 6 months or
so
whenever
remember
to cut, to
the
trim the
trees.
trees.
We did have the discussion, I think, you asked about this a few months back.
Mm-hmm.
So, Parks has the tree grid that has all of the trees on there. And they did have I think it's a 2 or 3 year plan, but then they also had the on-demand list. And you and I think we went through it because there was huge areas in your district that needed to be cut. I think most of you guys identified them when you were walking door to door and stuff like that. So it's the two. Our internal staff deals with the the scheduled trimming list, and then these guys are dealing with that on-demand list. So
Another question, due to Irma, you have those big branches, what damage, and that's a hazard to are they gonna take care of those two?
yes, so we've talked about the hangers as well. Again, a right-of-way crew with a bucket truck can go out and pull some of the hangers. We've talked about using Country Bill, Elon, and some of our existing vendors to help with that effort. The ones that didn't have the equipment to go out and do the big debris, it's all hands on deck. So to the extent, but I am looking at some additional vendors. I just got to be careful how actually, that I'm not particularly concerned about the FEMA reimbursement. It's more about getting the items out of the tree, because those would be small. Obviously those would be
Yeah, I talked to the
$50,000,
deputy about
smaller
the
contracts. Yeah.
A lot of small trees just need to be fixed, like Howard just said, and before they die.
Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Manager, Mr. Deputy. So if we have an address, who do we email it to of trees that needs to be?
They will be emailed to the Parks and Recreation Department.
So I email it to.
Well, you
the
can
manager?
email it to me and I'll take
Okay,
care
that's
of
what I want to know. Okay, so I email it to you and you'll take care
it.
of
I'll
it.
take care of it.
What about
Yes, sir.
the trees in the alley? Is that our responsibility or FPL? Because that's been one of the biggest concerns. Because FPL
Well-
told some people that we caused their light not to be back on because we didn't cut the trees.
I think
I know.
you and I have had this, not even a debate, the conversation. The alleyways are the responsibility of the adjacent property owner. We did do the sweeps that we did before, and we put not a violation, but a notice going forward. It's your responsibility.
Yeah, but for the purpose of this post-Irma
So
recovery,
we're doing, if we fail, we've posted your home, doing that. But I'm just saying the general answer to that inquiry is if there's a tree, you know, and FPNL will send out Asplon if there's a tree going up in the power lines. It takes a little while, but they'll come out. Now, their trim, I will tell you, it is not a good trim. They literally just cut a V.
Yeah, those
and-
are gonna die.
Yeah.
The way
No, but they will come out and trim it away from the power line, but it's just gonna be it's not a pruning service that you can say, cut me a nice,
It's gonna be a lawn service.
it's just a V.
Right.
But what are we doing for that? Because most
So
of those trees gonna
for
die.
the storm ones that have fallen on the property, we are going out.
No, I'm talking about FPNL. The way they're doing the street trimming, those trees
There's
gonna die.
nothing, they're cleaning their right, I guess their right away.
Yeah, but they're touching our trees.
Well,
They cannot touch it without.
we
our
actually have a
permission.
franchise agreement that says they can touch our trees with FPNL. Like
If they're
Yeah, but
impinging on their,
if they're impinging on
Yeah,
their
but
power
not
lines.
the way they want.
Huh? Say-
Not the way they want.
Yes.
Like, and they are killing the.
Well,
That's when you gotta revisit that plan. The same thing as coaxial cables. They cannot just go and trim the trees without someone seeing it and making sure that the tree is cut in the proper way.
This is, some of you may have seen, there was, I won't name the cities, but there were some cities that threatened to sue FPNL. And then what FPNL fired back to those same cities was that those very same cities that were complaining that their power was out for so very long were the same cities that were preventing FPNL from trimming the trees, from doing the mitigations to prevent this in the same place. So it's a balance. So yes, we don't want our trees to look ugly, we don't want these big Vs up there, but if you start restricting FPNL and they don't come out, the next storm that comes out, you'll be like some of these other cities
It's
that
the way
spend-
they're doing it. It's not like we are prevent them from doing it.
we can have conversations on how they do it, but this is the issue that other cities that are doing exactly what you're saying right now, that said, you know what, we don't like the way you're cutting our trees because it makes our city beautiful, not beautiful. Those cities stayed without power until, a few days ago. Because FPNL took the position, well, if you're gonna dictate how we cut our trees, we're just not gonna cut them. And then you have power out for 3 weeks. And cities, threatening to sue. So we can have the conversation with
15
FPNL.
years.
We'll take
The
we'll
trees
talk
are
to them,
beautiful.
we'll
Yeah.
talk to them, but that's the balance that
they
you have.
do. I mean, they do have a follow a trim tree process, if you will. I'm just telling you from what I've seen. I'm sure from what you've seen, it typically is just
Yeah, it's just like that.
okay, so just take it as a direction to go and talk to them and see if they can be a little bit more aesthetic.
and we'll do it all as part of the after action with FPNL.
Thank you very much, Mr. Estrade. At this time, we'll go for a vote if there is no more comment. Mr. Clerk?
I move for approval.
I have a motion made by Councilman Biedemeyer to approve tab H. The motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab I. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager and city attorney to negotiate and execute an amendment to the franchise agreement for solid waste and recycling collection services between the city of North Miami and Waste Pro of Florida, Inc., to provide for an extension to the term, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Through the mayor, council, I believe you know that we've had a number of conversations about our current solid waste vendor. In fact, we've had town hall meetings regarding their service and where we are. The city made a decision some months ago to go ahead and do a new RFP for the solicitation of these services. Retest the market, see where we are price-wise, and kind of write a bunch of quality standards and so on and so forth. Where we are right now, the extended contract with Waste Pro expires on September 30th, 2017. So I'm asking for your indulgence to negotiate an additional extension to allow us the time to finalize the RFP and implement whatever new equipment requirements will come out and implement the results of that RFP. Right now, we're estimating it'll take about a year's time to finish and allow for them or the new vendor to purchase new equipment and get those items up and running. So, but I know the item kind of gives us, myself and the city attorney, some indulgence with regards to that. So I'm asking for your support in this, and again, obviously this is something that's important to the council and the constituents.
All right, so you're looking for a 1-year extension with the good old WISPRO.
Well, the item actually asks you to give me the opportunity to go and sit down and negotiate the term. I think a year might do it, but it could be a little bit longer. That's why
You think so?
Well, they have to manufacture whoever gets the bid is going to have to
I know you
purchase
told me that, but
new equipment. All new equipment is one of the requirements. So, it takes a few months to manufacture eight one-arm bandits,
Right.
plus rear end loaders and.
so let's go to the
public,
public, see what they say. Public hearing is open on item I about extending the temporary contract. I guess with WISPRO, our waste management company, the one we have now. Yeah.
Clarence Merck, 905 Northwest 133rd Street. What I want to know, and we need some clarification on, when Waste Pro doesn't pick up the trash of the garden, why don't we get credit when we pay our bill? If I work on a job and I don't do the job, I don't get paid. So why should we pay for something that we aren't getting?
Strategy. Oh well, you don't have to, but this is a complaint. This is considered a complaint publicly made. It needs to be addressed. I mean, these are the type of complaints we've been getting almost on a daily basis.
So I can actually answer your question, and it's two separate things. As part of your non-ad valorem assessments, if you will, for city services, every residential account is assessed. A residential solid waste pickup fee is around $256 per household per year. That's the collection that we assess as a general rule. With regards to what we pay and how we get invoiced from Waste Pro, if you will, we can deal with issues of penalties and concerns. Right now, a lot of that is not built into the existing contract, but that is something that we can talk about and build into. But it would not affect your assessment that we're doing for the solid waste. That money would still have to be assessed because it's a part of the larger collection. It's the same as the assessment of your taxes, if you will.
Maybe we should just get WISPRO to pay for that day that they don't pick up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We cannot
WISPRO
invoice.
can reimburse the resident who's victim of not, I don't know. It's something that you need to look into.
I'll look into it, but there's a lot of case law and rules around the assessment of solid waste services.
All right.
Municipal solid waste.
Number two, I have a question. Before they went to Waste Pro, we voted not to privatize our sanitation department. And ever since then, I fought with the community for about 5 years about this problem that's gonna happen. Okay, we had new equipment. We turned it over to them. I would like to know how many trucks do we have available when we have an emergency? Because this is a problem. And I identified this years ago. You wasn't here. But the people said no. And all of a sudden, it was agreed to. And thank God we didn't have a catastrophic number 5 to hit us directly, because I knew this was going to happen. And I can give you an example. My parents them got property.
Speak in the mic.
My parents them have property in dealing. And sanitation need to have that in public works. Sanitation should be under public works, not under the police department. When I go to my mother's house, if I have a problem with that, I go to public works, and it is resolved with the contractor. But here, thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open on the item, contract with Westpro.
My name is Juancito Frencius, 650 Northeast 145th Street. I believe this is an opportunity for the city to bring the sanitation back to the city. First, it will create a job in the city. Second, the citizen complaining about the service we've been receiving. The service is really not the quality, and we're not satisfied with it. And I've been talking to people so many times, and they've been complaining. And I don't know why you guys keep Westpro on contract. Why you guys have to negotiate with them while we could bring it back. And I remember when the city handled that, the service was better and better. Thank you.
My name is Smith Casamajo, 1270 Northeast 143rd Street. I have so many complaints for the Westpro. If the people know we have a negotiate for the Westpro right now, I think a lot of people are gonna come here. And it's not a good way to negotiate with Westpro because too much complaint. Anytime they call me, I call a Councilman Philippe Bien-Aimé, I call Dr. Smith Joseph, I call anybody to come in because they don't pick up garbage. It's not a good way to have Westpro on the contract. Thank you.
Good evening, Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace. I was told that this item had been pulled for tonight, but now I see it's still on the agenda. But anyways, I have called my council person and sent so many pictures over and over. Our city manager, assistant manager, we were told that really this was he announced in our town hall meeting that we were going to get another contract with another company because it seems as though this company is overextended, that there are too many contracts with too many municipalities, that they cannot do their job efficiently. And it is not fair to the residents. They have been at my house at 10:30 at night, and the truck is broken down. And the waste and the smell and stuff from the trucks, it's just too much. Streets upon streets upon streets, trash have not been picked up. And I think that we're better than this, and I feel that the services are not being rendered that should be rendered and what we're paying for. So I'm asking you all to please consider someone else that can handle this, because obviously these people seem to have overextended themselves. Thank you.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. It's a shame that we have to stand here tonight. I'm embarrassed for the city that we're having this conversation, that you actually are forced to have to make an extension to this horrible contract. That you have no choice tonight. You have to do it. And that's not a position any council person should be in. You have no choice. I would not extend it for a year. I would do it for 6 months. Make the manager come back and tell you their progress. And then an additional 6 months if necessary. And that would be it, folks. This isn't something that just propped up. From day one, we've had a problem with WastePro. The whole way that the contract was originally awarded, I've never seen anything move so fast in the city of North Miami in my life that in one night we changed the rules and awarded a contract, no bid contract, the exact same night. And then The contract got renewed for one of their extensions. Oh, we didn't put it out. We didn't read the contract. Same thing happened again. Because somebody dropped the ball and didn't realize that you have to start a year and a half in advance to put the RFP out. I'm glad that the manager is doing it now. Folks, if you want 8 pieces of equipment, there's companies that can get it to you a lot quicker than a year. At the same time, you should be directing the manager to see what the true cost is about bringing back the trash collection and garbage sanitation services back in-house into the city. Because nobody did it better than we did. You've seen the equipment. We've been treated like second-class citizens, and Mr. Manager, if you indulge me for a few more seconds, this is...
If I do it, I gotta keep doing it for everybody.
The fact that you guys are put in this position is an embarrassment, and please let the staff know accordingly that you're not happy with it.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is still open on the item, but I see no one coming to the mic, so public hearing is now closed, and I will take the first shot at this. This is common knowledge that I don't like WestPro, but I don't like WestPro not because of personal reason, because WestPro does not perform. They do not perform. I fire people every day in my office. I come to my office, and you hired to do a job as a medical assistant, as a phlebotomist, and I give you an order to do certain things, and patients are complaining that you are not doing what you're supposed to do, you come home. This is the only place where I see people do not perform, but they still have a job. And it's been over a year now. I've been complaining about, not me. I walk the streets. And I am a mayor who walks the street in all 4 districts. And people, I do not walk one day and to not get at least 2 or 3 complaints. Sometimes I stand in front of those bins full of garbage. Sometimes it's 9 p.m. The garbage cans are there in the streets, in the city of North Miami. So, and then to find out, and probably the manager just found out as well. I found out when I met with you, I think, was it Thursday? Yeah, no, on this 1-year issue. As Mr. Burns just said, I didn't know that we have to give them at least, it was going to take us a year at least, to do that transition, get the RFP, then after we select that company, then they have to order their trucks, they have to manufacture them brand new. I wasn't aware of that process. Why were we not made aware of that process a year or 2 years ago? Everybody knew that the time was coming for us to terminate the WestPro's contract. But I don't know, I guess this is the same culture that has been going on in North Miami, where people just put things under the tables and boom, all of a sudden it comes out as a surprise. As Mr. Burns said, we are obligated to renew it because we cannot just go out there and get someone in 3, 4, 5 months. But I am not happy about it. I'm sorry, taxpayers, but I'm only one vote.
Well, Mr. Mayor, can I say something? Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
And Mr. City Manager, and can you let the public know that we are not renewing WestPro's contract? It's just an extension in order for us to put the RFP out. And can you clarify that? We're not renewing. Explain that.
We're extending their contract.
I just explained that we are obligated. We are obligated to extend, but we are obligated to extend it. We don't have a choice. We do not have a choice. We should not be. We should never be put in the position to. But what choice do we have? We have to accept them. We don't have trucks that we can just tell them next month go away, and then we're going to do it ourselves. We can't even do that. So, who was aware of this 1-year issue? We have to at least wait 1 year. I became aware of it last Thursday.
But there is a problem with purchasing because we put the RFP out, and
so
we accuse
and
they run it back.
This is a clarification.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't make excuses, and I think you guys know that.
Yeah.
So bottom line, it falls on my shoulders at the end of the day. However, we were aware that it was going to take 6, 7, 8 months for manufacturing. Very much aware of it. So much so that we actually put the RFP out several months ago, and we took advantage of the existing extension that was allowed in the contract in working with Waste Pro. There were a number of clarifying questions. We met with the industry before we put the RFP out. We went through the whole thing, and we had a solid document. But coming out of that, we had a number of questions from industry that required us to pull the RFP back in. When that happened, that is what triggered the huge delay in time. So, myself, my staff, we have to take that responsibility. We've now been working, the RFP is supposed to be out, I think, in tomorrow or a couple of days. We've honed in all of those questions, so we will have a smooth process. And yes, we have to eat this. I'm not happy about it myself, because it signals poor planning, but we are here to work through the issue. We will press upon Waste Pro to try to be more compliant with the contract. But as I've stated in the public and in the town hall meeting, and I want to be clear about my words, I've analyzed this contract very well, and what I've noticed is, we have issues. We're not paying for service that we're getting. And to Ms. Brown's point, the capacity issue is a real one. So, that's not Larry Spring's fault. That's not, matter of fact, I don't think it's anybody's fault on the dais. It is what it is at this point. So,
yeah, I'm gonna let you speak, but just before
but
you.
you're right.
I have one more point. Yeah. I have one more important point to make. When we had this meeting with I think they were from the state auditors.
Yes.
Upstairs on the
yes,
fourth floor.
Yes,
Yeah, there was, and then I discussed it with them also, the one who presented this evening, and I brought the point, and they agreed that a lot of the clauses in that contract were not enforced. They are not being enforced. And Waste Pro, I believe there is a clause in there that says Waste Pro, at the inception of the contract, was supposed to lease a property, a vacant property from us, right? They were supposed to lease a property and pay us about $5,500 a month for the life of the contract, which was from 2012, I believe, to 17. So for 5 years, they were supposed to pay $5,500 per month for 5 years. And I don't believe that 1 month was paid. Because that was one of the item that I discussed with two auditors from the state of Florida, and they brought it up when they reviewed our contract. So why is Waste Pro not paying the $5,500 per month for 5 years? How many months in 5 years? 60 months, right? Is it? 60 times 5,500. How much is that?
Times 5 is 350.
Okay? And it is the same company that we are awarding another year of contract for another. I'm sorry, but we have to collect that money.
Wow.
They will get the contract, but they will pay that 5,500 times 60. They have to. Where do we go from here? I don't know. Enough is enough.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, but let me see how we gonna, no, I have to have a response. Mr. Attorney. It's in the contract.
I'm not disputing anything you're saying. You're giving
Well,
me
let's look
direction on
into
what
it
they-
and give me a report on how we're gonna, we'll come back on it next meeting.
I'll give you a report at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Enough is enough. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Well, a couple of things. I listened to some of the residents, and Mr. Mayor, you eloquently said a lot of the things that I wanted to say, and a lot of the residents. Now, I must say, when I do get a report, which I get almost every other day, if I email it to Mr. Riviera, immediately it's being rectified with city administration. However, that's after the report. So none of my comments have nothing to do with individual or with the waste bowl. But being a resident of this city for over 20 some odd years growing up here, I remember how clean this city used to be. And I am a little disappointed, Mr. Manager, and I do know the buck stopped with you, but we here need to be blamed at this failure that just happened at the council. And we do have a choice, Mr. Former Mayor. And I'm just gonna lay out a couple of proposals, because this is crazy. I am not supporting this 12 months, because if they're not doing a good job right now, it doesn't matter if they, you know, you guys could do it, that's fine, but I honestly, I can't. I just had 3 residents just text me in the last couple of hours about some other issues. But I will put out some proposals. But before we say that, the reason that I blame us, Mr. Manager, and the reason I'm a little bit not too happy, somebody should be fired. I don't know where. Because I remember I had asked either you or Mr. Deputy Manager how much it would cost to bring this in-house, publicly and privately. I was told that it would be somewhere around something. I never got a quite answer. So the reason that I am blaming myself, I have never been, and I'll apologize to the residents, I wasn't being so thoughtful enough to make sure every meeting I get an update, because I assumed that things were moving okay. When I met with you a couple of weeks ago, you told me that, when we met to review the item, I did tell you my opposition of it, and I told you, honestly, I cannot support it because, and I asked you again, bring me how much it would be to bring this in-house, because when this deal happened, a lot of the residents that used to work here, this city is one of the best city, I must say. When we do things in-house, you over the staff, the amount of things that is being done, if a resident email me about something, I could come to you or email you to email the director, it's being done. I cannot ever say that it's not done, but because it's a third party of what's going on, Mr. Manager, we really need to reconsider bring this in-house. And here's a couple of proposals I have. I would not mind supporting a month-to-month basis for this contract. I would like for you to give us a proposal. Budget is coming up. If this has cost $20 million to bring this in-house, I don't think the residents of this city, they pay their taxes for us to be here. That's a lot of money for us to be putting them to what we're doing. So if we could address this through the budget that's coming up in a couple of weeks, if we could buy our own trucks, if it's 20 million, if you're gonna tell me, just like you did when we were trying to move in from CP&D, whatever that department is, what was the department for the zoning? That I was okay, you gave me, it was zoning, when we outsource, whatever the department is with it. Building, exactly, building and zoning, you gave us a timeline, you say you would like to bring it in, because the sense that I get after this is like staff is not really on board of bringing this in-house, and I would really ask my colleague up here, this is about our city, please support me on this. We need to find out how do we bring this in-house if we're serious about this, because this cannot go long. Now, if we want to do this for the next 6 months, I think that's too long. If you're going to say to me, it's going to cost $20 million to move it, this is the plan, it's going to take 6 months. When I'm out there, the mayor's out there, we're talking to these residents, we could say we are going to bring this in, just kind of suffer for 6 months. But I cannot honestly go out, and you know I'm outside every day, telling these people, oh, I don't know when this is going to happen. Oh, well, it may be another year. It may be another year and a half, and we're going to get somebody else. I really, really would like to get some support from my colleague on this Deus, if you really, really about bringing this in-house to make sure that our residents are being, the trash are being picked up in our city, are really being clean, Mr. Manager, please do what you can to give us that number, and let's put a plan for the community. So that's my two plan. We could do a month-to-month basis with a plan of how we could bring this in-house. We have budget, and if we have to cut some whatever that we need to do, this is about the residents. And I think staff, we have done a lot, but we need to do something for the
So
residents. Mr. Manager.
so what I gather, you would like to make at least a motion to go on a month-to-month instead of even considering a year, just so one. Because
Yes, sir.
This is a two-item type.
Two-item, is it?
It seems to be.
Mr. Attorney,
What the second are they?
I don't know. What's the second one?
No, you
No,
said-
no, no. What you
What I just said.
The comment that you made.
Well, I don't know where the support
month-to-month-
is.
The month-to-month.
Yes,
is,
that I would
is
support.
one item.
It's one
And
item.
then trying to bring it in-house.
I would just
we would
say-
have to wait for them to
Well,
bring
from
additional.
Councilwoman Keys, Vice Mayor Galvin, and Councilman Benjamin, I just want to have that conversation because we've been talking about it. How serious are we? Do we have the support of bring this in-house to direct the manager to really bring us a proposal? If not, that's fine. We could move on the same track of getting a new, because this is just
but
right.
I understand your point, but you know, a part of what you said is just to make the public happy.
No, it's not. This is very serious.
And I remember we talked about a bond, and you said you don't want a penny more from the residents. You don't
Yes.
want. I understand that. If you're talking about $21 million, we're talking about tax increase.
No.
or-
What I said is budget is
Explain.
coming. I said budget is coming. We need to figure out, give us that money amount. If we have to cut each department 5, whatever percent, that's the manager. I would leave that up to the manager you the manager, right?
I got it, but can I address that
Yes,
real
sir.
quickly?
Yeah, but we need
You
to
know,
be serious.
I
You
mean,
just-
I'm sorry.
That's what I'm
I mean,
saying.
what I would like to do, if you hear me out here, like I said, the bringing in-house is a topic that is to be considered.
That's what
And I think, like you eloquently stated, that months ago you did ask here on the dais, and you directed staff to bring you back figures as to how
Yes.
much it would be if we were to consider to bring this in-house.
You have it, sir?
Okay, so if they have those numbers, then we will look at them.
That's what I
But I think for the purpose of this item,
Okay.
the proposing the month-to-month would not be a far-fetched,
Okay.
thing
let's
to
just
do.
leave it at one-
Yeah,
one
so
thing
you
at
would
a
do
time.
that,
Yes,
and
sir.
then after that,
Okay.
the bringing in-house issue would be discussed, separately.
Okay.
You are gonna say something, Mr. Manager.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you want to say something? No?
You wanna go ahead? Okay, I am more than willing to get prices. In fact, I did speak to the manager. I've asked before to find out what it would cost in-house. I didn't realize it was gonna take this long to get the bid back out. I'd like to know,
And I want you guys I need to clarify this. It's not gonna take a year to do the bid. The issue is the implementation. This bid can be up and down in probably 90 days, 120 days.
that's part of my
Right,
comment is, I would
It's
like
the
to.
other part.
I feel tonight we have to do something. We can't just say, okay, we don't want Waste Pro, we will have no garbage. So we really have to do something this evening to extend. But I would like to see the bid fast-tracked. We know who the bidders are. They've already bid. It's just a matter of coming back and answering a few more questions. It's not like we have to go worldwide. We know everybody who's interested in doing business with the city. Give them notice, which you did the last time. Here's notice. There's no reason we can't get this bid closed in 30 days from the time it goes out. I mean, unless there's some statute.
Isn't it 45 days?
No,
Is
that,
it?
let's
Okay.
be clear, and I'm
Okay.
saying this for the constituents. I don't wanna give you a 30-day or 45-day. It's unrealistic. Those bids are very complicated. It's not like, oh, I'm reading one page, the price is X and we're done. We're talking about having these companies invest whatever the dollar amount is in new equipment. They have to figure out their ROI and all
Haven't
that
they
other
already
stuff.
done this in the previous bid?
we put it out in the bid, but when all these other clarification questions that came back, we had to tweak our RFP to address it.
Okay,
So that's why I'm saying probably 90 days is out, full consideration in committee, review, and then back to you guys for, for consideration, 90 to 120. So I get it. I understand the urgency of it. I think you guys know from my briefing, I take it very serious. It's not like an issue. I think you guys also know I was very irritated when we had to pull the bid. I know I had that conversation with every single one of you when it happened. And, not to get into that issue here on the dais. We are fully committed to fast tracking the RFP, getting it done as soon as possible. It still does not address, I know it's gonna take time to implement.
Okay, let me keep going, just real quickly. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned a $5,000 monthly bill.
5,500, I believe the number was.
I want to point out that this was a horrible contract. Nobody fought harder than myself, sitting down there many years ago, to fight against, we had, this audience was packed. There was people from all over did not want to privatize. We fought this, and we have it, and we have a contract. And I don't even think the contract is that good. It wasn't a valid contract. It was piggybacked. It wasn't apples and apples. It's wrong. But on the other hand, we do have this contract. We also have a contract that as of, I think, January 2013, we were going to start getting bulk pickup every other month. Waste Pro has continued to do weekly bulk pickup. That's got to be worth more than $5,500 a month. So there's been a give and take. So that's a big chunk that we are getting weekly bulk pickup. Because we tried it many years ago before when we were private, going every other week to save money. That did not work. So I don't know if we're going to be able to renegotiate, or we're just going to extend the contract for I'd say 6 months as is, or we're going to tweak it a little. I want to say one other thing to the residents. I'm not in favor of privatization. I get weekly calls. People are not happy with the pickup. But I'm going to warn everybody that once we do get whether it's Waste Pro in a new contract or if it's another company, you can expect the prices are going up. I think our contract is low. It was low for certain reasons. I don't think Waste Pro is getting paid as much as they need to, and maybe that's why they don't have as many trucks. I don't know, but prices are going to go up. So to want to jump into another contract immediately, it's going to affect everybody's pockets, and people are going to be back here screaming. So that's just a warning. Tonight we don't have a choice, but I'd like to keep us down no more than 6 months to make sure we are moving as quickly as possible.
Did you have a comment?
Well, you don't need to hear anything more from
okay, yeah.
I have another question.
No, yeah, just before you go, Mr. Councilman, the Councilwoman may alluded to the fact that maybe West Pro made up for the $5,500 a month because they're picking up the bulk, however, whatever the frequency is. But my understanding of a contract is a contract, and every line item needs to be respected in it, and any breach in that contract needs to be addressed. So I don't know if there was a subsequent agreement made with Waste Pro. Okay, we will forego that $5,500 a month, provided that if there was an addendum to that contract, I would like to see it. But as it stands right now, in that contract, the state of Florida auditors brought it up to us. They looked at the contract. They said, why didn't you guys enforce that contract? Where did that money go? Whom are they paying? If they're supposed to pay to us and they're not paying us, whom are they paying? Do we have a collector out there collecting money for us? If I don't know, I need to know. I am the mayor.
May I?
Yeah.
I want to be very clear, and I've said this in public. I just said it before. There are provisions in this contract as your new manager who had nothing to do with this
I know,
contract.
yeah, I had nothing to do with
no,
this.
but I need to be clear about this. I went through the city attorney, our contract compliance person. We've gone through this contract, the state auditors, and there are provisions on both sides that they didn't comply with, and we, as an administration, didn't comply with. And yeah, it is likely that whoever was in charge did do a, hey, you know what? This is not gonna work, so I'll forego this, but we gotta do this. And I'll forego this.
Yeah, but
and
both
do
you
that.
and I know
But
that's not the way you do business in the U.S.
And unfortunately,
That's not the U.S.
For me, none of that stuff was documented.
Yeah.
And we walk into a situation where it's here. All I'm trying to do is be contrite about the fact that the administration prior did not. There were many provisions that were not enforced. And then the most peculiar one, again, why does a private company decide on its own to provide more service than you're actually paying for? That typically doesn't happen in America either. Nothing, no ticky, no laundry is the statement I'm used to hearing. So today, and I want you to know, Councilman Nsume, because we've had so many conversations. Have I started and done your analysis? Yes. My staff has done it. I'm tweaking it so I can give it to you, so I can give you a real good number. Same thing for you, Councilwoman Keys. I'm almost there. The issue at hand, though, is we have to extend this. Has the manager looked into, hey, could we hire another company real quick and move on? Yes. The answer is no. And I asked every single one of the industry folks out there, including the county. They don't just have extra trucks laying around for extra capacity. So yes, we're over a barrel right now. And and it again, I am not trying. I'm dealing with it. I'm taking it on. We brought this issue.
We're not letting them go. We're doing a month to month until such time that we come up with. No, I mean, no, the month, like you said, the month to month can last.
As long as it needs to
be. As long as it takes for us to come up with a
solution. If they agree, if they decide by September 30th to walk away, we have to ask them if they agree.
Oh yeah, so let's give the manager the
room
Yes,
to do
yeah,
it.
but-
That's what I'm asking for.
I understand that, Mr. Manager, but here's my little confusion. We doing, however, if they agree, so of course they're not gonna agree, so I don't know why we're sitting here thinking they will agree. My question is that, although you mentioned the month to month, but we're still talking about the putting out the RFQ, so it has not seriously been considered that we want to do this by to move it in-house. Because I mean, when it was from your administration, when we were doing the building department thing, it was this is something that you were on board, your staff was on board, this is something that you wanted to happen, and it happened. So it's like now me and the residents and then some folks. So I don't know on the record from here who would like to have that in-house. And this is me talking to my colleagues up here. Councilman Galvin, I know you had a town hall. Councilman Bienemy, if we not, I don't want to keep on talking about something just to make the residents happy. If it's not going to happen, it's not.
Yes, sir.
Can
I